Welcome to Marriage, Let's Talk, hosted by legendary worldwide marriage encounter leader, Father Rosy Rosebrough, featuring Catholic married couples from around the world who demonstrate healthy communication for building better marriages. And now, here's Father Rosy.
Hi, Father Rosy here. I'm glad you could join us today. This podcast is not talking about marriage. It is where we're going to share how to create a better marriage through communicating feelings in authentic ways. So what topic do you have for us tonight, Patrick and Jen?
So our dialogue question is, recall a time when I was worried about your health/life. How do I feel recalling this time?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Go first.
Yep, I'm gonna go first. Dear Patrick, recalling the time when you had to be emergently taken to the hospital by an ambulance while we were visiting New York City, not the most recent time, I feel anxious, terrified, and helpless. My helpless feeling was my strongest feeling. Recalling that event now, my helpless feeling still quickly surges, not knowing what's happening, not knowing what will happen. My helpless feeling sounds like an unfamiliar foreign language as someone is desperately asking me for help, but I have no idea what they're saying. Helpless physically is paralyzing, my body frozen instead of galvanizing into action. My helpless feeling is like when our basement flooded from a burst pipe and the crack was like before the main switch. So there was no stopping gallons upon gallons of water from pouring out and submerging our basement. My helpless feeling is gray, like ashes that covered everyone and everything during 9/11. Images I will never forget. A nature scene is like a tidal wave rising and about to come crashing down, and there's no escaping. Love, Jenny.
Dear Jenny, a time when I was worried about your life/health was not too long ago when you had an annual doctor's appointment and wanted to run more tests after something suspicious appeared on your mammogram. This was the same time that your mother was battling breast cancer, and I was worried that more tests would lead to a diagnosis of breast cancer like your mother. Recalling this now brings up thoughts of being separated from you by death. My thoughts about what my life would be like without you here every day leads me to feel empty. The intensity of my empty feeling is an 8 on a scale of 1 to 10. My empty feeling would sound like the words hello bouncing through a deep cave. If my empty feeling had a taste, it would be bland like food when you have the flu. My empty feeling would feel cold and sticky like touching ice with wet hands. If my empty feeling were a nature scene, it would be a barren desert as far as the eye could see. Another time that I experienced this empty feeling was during the first month of undergraduate in a school where I didn't know anyone. Love, Patrick.
Love you.
Love you too. So your feeling was helpless and mine is empty.
Which one should we talk about?
That's a good question.
They both, I mean, my feeling is like, it's hard to even like verbalize, very intense. But I also recall in previous times when you described that, you know, when you mentioned that the example of when you were undergrad, right? The feeling of empty. And I recall how profound that feeling was for you. I don't know. What do you think?
Would you like to explore mine, or I mean, we can like to.
Either
Your
one.
feeling seems pretty strong too, though. So it's like
Does. I don't know. Just like rock, paper, scissors.
well, I don't know. Let's see. I guess the key would be who's
need a little bit more exploring, you
Yeah,
think?
we could use a little bit.
Mm. We can. Tell me what you were about to say something.
I don't know. I mean, I'd be happy to. I think you're right. I think that example, which I've shared before about, and when I went to college
Mhm.
was it was difficult. It was
Yeah.
difficult for a long time. So yeah, I guess if you'd
Talk
like,
about your empty
yeah, it
feelings.
does have. We can talk about it. It's pretty strong.
Okay. Maybe let's start with just telling me a little bit more about that feeling of empty. You talked about a nature scene that is like a desert, that's just endless emptiness.
Mhm.
But maybe tell me a little bit more about, like maybe physically how you feel when you have this emotional feeling of emptiness.
It's just physically, it's hard to describe because I feel like, the emptiness is, it's obviously a very negative emotion. You have a lot of sort of, tightness in the chest or thoughts of like negative things, sad things, right? So I think it would, right, it elicits a very unhappy, unwanted, definitely kind of experience. And then, of course, I think it's, for me, I then want to avoid that. I want to either just ignore it or distract or avoid or get away from it. So it's definitely not physically, it's not something that I want to like stick around too long for. Does that make sense?
It does. It's I think that's physical description of like that tightness and feeling like oppressed. And that stems from you like this feeling of loneliness. So is it like, is the empty linked to the feeling of empty, is it linked to being like alone? Because you were thinking
Yeah,
about,
I think so. I think,
yeah.
right, there's an isolation in it. So, and I guess, I remember sharing with you before. So I think realizing the difference between being alone and being lonely, right? So you can be with a bunch of people and still feel lonely. You can be by yourself and be completely content and unfazed. So I think this is more of the latter. This is more of that, so yeah, but back to sort of the thoughts about being separated, that like, there's the kids, there's all these people, but obviously is a feeling of emptiness, if you're not there, right? So, yeah.
Yeah. I was thinking we started dating when I was 18. And I was like, oh, I'm like 43 now. So I was like, we've known each other more of my life than the times that I have not known you. So kind of this idea of you mentioning other relationships that you have, but then the idea of somehow one day when I'm not here, this idea that you will still have other relationship, but then there will be this loneliness or this emptiness that leads to emptiness.
Right.
Okay. What kind of intensifies that feeling?
Intensifies my feeling of emptiness. I guess, I don't know. My initial thought is things like losing something. But it's not, I mean, it's not like, it's more than that, because I feel like there's loss and there's grief and there's those things, but I don't know, the emptiness is, I think it's not something that I think is often, I often encounter too much, I'm trying to think of another time I felt or I felt in that kind of intensity,
Mm,
that kind of emotional
mm,
experience of emptiness rather than sadness or
right.
disappointment. I think what makes it more intense, it have to be something related to you, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have,
Yeah.
you know, some subject
Mm.
related to you.
Mm. Trying to think of a example. And, as you were describing your feeling, I'm thinking, yeah, like, would I have a similar type of feeling with anyone other than you? Because you're talking about it's kind of, it's when you are, yeah. So I'm trying to imagine a time when I may have a similar feeling. I wonder if it's like, I'm kind of going way back, because I remember in order to like immigrate to the US, my mom came here first, right? And during that time, like our whole family were living in different places. And so my brother was in Taiwan, was in Hong Kong, I was in Taiwan. My dad, sometimes in Taiwan, sometimes at US, but we're living at different places.
Right.
And so I remember the time when like once a year or so my mom like would come to visit me in Taiwan. I remember this one time when she came to visit and then she's due to leave. And I just remember like knowing that was going to happen, like trying hard not to like ask her to stay, but I think in the end I couldn't help but like ask her, can you stay? But of course like she couldn't, like, and so I remember going to school the next day, knowing that when I come home, she won't be there. And then when I came home, I still have this almost like magical thinking that, oh, maybe she will still be there. And then when I came home and she wasn't there, I just remember feeling like, it was like beyond sad. It was this like, when you talked about this physically like oppressed feeling, like something was like just weighing down on me. And I just remember feeling that way. And, my caretaker then, she oftentimes would make me dumplings, like after Chinese dumplings after school for snack. And I just remember like stuffing dumpling with soy sauce into my mouth because I was so, yeah, like that when you say empty, I was like, I just feel like I'm just like stuffing my mouth full to kind of fill something, even though like it was so oppressed. So I wonder if it's kind of like that empty feeling.
Yeah. How many years was it that your family, that you guys were all separate like this?
I think it was about 5 years. Yeah. And it was like, I can't imagine looking back now, what a sacrifice for my parents, my father, and especially my mom, because then she came to the US first. And the idea now that I have kids, I'm like, to be separated from my children, that must have been incredibly hard. So yeah, it was about like 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Wow. I think you're definitely, experiencing my feeling. You seem to really get it, and your description is moving.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too.
Much.
Wow. That is different images come to mind that, it's you're trying to describe your emptiness on it's almost like where you had a whole beautiful meal, and all of a sudden you try to you're looking for something to stand on, and you can't, you're falling, you're free falling, and you're trying to grab the wall, but it's got grease on it, and you keep on, it's like you're falling. And I had that feeling the other day. It reminds me of a roller coaster. I don't like heights. And you come to the very top, and you drop off completely 100 feet down, and in one sense you're weightless, but my fear is I'm going to crash. It's that momentary emptiness you're talking about after the funeral, for example, of somebody you love, and everybody's around for 3 or 4 weeks, and then all of a sudden it's hollow.
Mm,
Mm.
You know, it's like a like a hollowness.
mm.
Instead of being, that emptiness is a hollowness. That ring it all, you know, that kind of, you know, the
Yep.
hollow means there's nothing there inside. It's just, there's no substance. It's
Yeah.
just, it's air. It's just,
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking vacuum, right? So
Mhm.
it's, in a lot of ways, I keep,
Mm.
thinking of how I compare it or contrast it to sad, but it's more visceral,
Mm.
right? And
yes,
again, I feel like it's like the absence of something,
Mm.
rather than, yeah,
Mm.
just this, right? And then I like Jennifer was describing, I think a lot of us feel this need to fill, and we may fill it with something that's not what we need, whether it's food or something that's not good for us because of this emptiness that we can't reach, we can't
Mm.
identify or console.
Mm.
Yeah, I think it's very different, right, than sad.
And then Father, when you say like funeral, I'm also struck by the moment when, when we have viewing of like,
yes, of the body
at
or
a funeral, yeah, of the body, and then when the casket closes, I just remember that moment when it seemed, and just like falling to the ground, because then that seems so final. And then also those moments when the casket's like lowered,
Mm.
it's like those moments when it's, certainly for me, it strike me as like that empty. It's like, wow, that person is gone from my life in this physical world. Right. And
yes, my dad died at 46. And then
Mm.
my brother Don, who is 2 years older than me, died at 46. And I remember his three daughters. One was like 17, one was like 16, and then Mary Ellen was, I think she was like 13 in seventh grade. And the feeling that you talked about emptiness of is that, and so I recommended for counseling for them the
Mhm.
following, because they're so young. And they tried that, it didn't work. And then a year after, on the anniversary, I called my sister-in-law, which is their mother, about 3 or 4 days before the anniversary, just to get in praying for you and, love you and let you know that. Well, I didn't call on the day. So
Mm.
Mary Ellen disowned me as an uncle for a year.
Mm.
And I would describe her feeling, looking outward into her, is empty
Mm.
because I didn't call on the exact day.
Mhm.
And it's
Mm.
interesting that, and so we used to always laugh and giggle and do all kind of things together for the during the first year after their dad died. But all of a sudden I got cut off, and I had this emptiness at the same time. It's different than hers, but it's interesting how each person, like the mammogram that you had,
Mhm.
takes Patrick back with your mom's issue.
Mhm.
And it's nothing to do with the brain. Each person's different, but emotionally we go back, and their feelings to share that is awesome because we're fearful of, if I say it out loud, maybe it's true.
Mm.
Right.
So death is awfully hard to describe, or helplessness. I find helplessness all the time when I experience that. I had that last week with Sam and Liz Cohen, my friends. I put in helplessness. And so, yes. And yet we choose to share because let's the other person walk with us instead of
Right.
just holding it in. And the gift is the feeling being shared, as you did tonight, trying to find out something similar. You unite that gift of presence,
Mhm.
then it draws you closer together and to trust even more.
Mhm.
So thank you so much tonight for your vulnerability, and thank you for that gift. And we want to tell people who are listening that open the blades of grass, that experience God's joy each day, or the intimacy that He has in store for you. Amen.
Amen.
I'm so grateful for the guests we had today who shared willingly themselves in their dialogue. And thank you for joining us. I look forward to the next episode when I join you again once more.
This has been Marriage, Let's Talk, sponsored by Worldwide Marriage Encounter, the foremost faith-inspired marriage enrichment organization in the world, providing married couples with transformative experiences through couples retreats, small groups, and more. Learn to nurture love in your marriage at wwme.org. Marriage, Let's Talk is a production of Mater Media, the apostolate that offers the Celebrate Catholic Marriage experience to energize and fortify married couples through parish events and the 7-step journey to joy. Find out more at matermedia.org.